It's a beautiful, sunny, bright day here at Weather and Ag in Focus, at least if you're following us here in North Dakota. Finally, some sunshine, some warmer temperatures. Addison, I know that maybe you're not quite ready for the warmer temperature.
I am
I
not.
apologize, but we can't stop it now.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I think now I
Please.
do appreciate the fact that we're going to try to get you bigger and better fans throughout the summer season, but I got to tell you, we don't get to put a stop on the weather right now. We're shooting for like 70 degrees today, pal.
Ew. I don't like that. Not a fan. I'm not. People look
You
at me
know,
like I'm crazy, but I'd rather it be cold than hot outside.
70 isn't bad. You'll still be able to drive with the windows open and enjoy it when you leave work today.
That's true, but if it's 70 outside, that means it's gonna be like 90 in here.
That's a downside. And I do appreciate the fact that we get not only the outside weather report here on Weather and Ag in Focus, but the inside weather report with Addison. Although yesterday we had some great fun with some listeners online who suggested maybe we change the name of the show. Did you have a particular favorite that came to mind yesterday?
So so I got two. I had two that were my particular favorites. We had Steve Bello out from New Jersey, one of our favorites.
Hmm.
He messaged, and I think his was Windows and Ag and Focus. And then I also heard from one of my favorite fill-in show hosts that other people might have heard on our station, filling in for various show hosts when they're
Host.
gone. Justin from Lakes Country. He texted me, and I believe his text said Weather and Addison in Focus. Or it
So
was
we
like
could be
Windows and
Windows
Addison in
and
Focus. I really
Addison.
like that one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So as you look out your window from wherever you might be today, whether it's your shop, your pickup, maybe you're already in the field doing some tillage, might just be like Addison looking out from the office. We're up against a 70-degree day. Personally speaking, I'm going to be okay with a little sunshine. I have hit the peak glow in the dark Casper white winter color. I could use a little sun myself. Nonetheless, we're going to get some 70s today. Tomorrow, change of events coming ahead for Friday. It's going to cool off again. You know what, Addison? We're easing you into this spring situation. So it'll be a cool weekend.
I don't want
You'll
to
be all
be
right.
eased into it. I just want it to be cold again.
I got bad news, pal. Welcome to April.
I don't like
So,
it.
well, this Dean consistently has said we've been in a stormy pattern for the LRC. We'll get more details about that tomorrow when we do the spring weather outlook. We'll be doing that starting at 2 o'clock tomorrow with the Jay Thomas show. So that'll be from 2 to 5. I'll join the show from 3 to 4. We'll talk about ag and some of the questions I've gotten from listeners in regards to what our spring and summer weather might look like, especially in regards to our cropping season. But if you are listening and you're thinking to yourself, well, I need to know more, and especially about specific dates, you are more than welcome to send those emails to Dean. He is weather@flagfamily.com. And if you have those that are ag related, they can come to me, ag@flagfamily.com. Big thank you to Superior Grain Equipment. They power our inboxes. They make sure that not only is our email inbox running, but they power and provide superior grain storage, drying, and handling solutions for you. Check them out at superiorbins.com. Addison was kind enough to show the outside weather because the weather is, regardless of what you think, Addison, it's still very lovely out for many of us. We're going to take a very nice day today
Lovely is a
and not
strong
have
word.
rain. I thought I was being pretty middle of the road with lovely.
I'll
I
allow
didn't
it.
jump ahead to like phenomenal. So we'll go with lovely. Okay.
I'll allow it.
But that weather outside, sometimes Addison shows it to us on our Lighthouse Commodities live stream. So if you're following on Facebook, YouTube, Acres TV, you're going to want to watch that live stream. Catch on to what the weather is doing out those windows. The other reason that the live stream is excellent to pay attention to, you just never know when guests are bringing us props, when they have websites and photos to share. So even if you are listening over the radio during this time slot, you can always go back and watch us on social media later on. Again, brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. Now, you will find this a little bit of fun, I hope, because let's face it, you all know that we're WDAY radio. We have a companion station, The Flag, 1100 AM. Well, I've decided that I'm going to work with some sponsors this spring, and we're going to go out and flag a farmer. So the ag director here from WDAY Radio is going to be spending time with two sponsors. One is Landmark Companies, the other is Geronimo Power. As we get closer to spring planting, you'll find me with the sponsors out on the road. We're going to be stopping at farms or catching you in the field to drop off United States flags. So often we see flags flying in farmyards, they're hanging in shops, or they're flying on equipment, whether it's on your air seeder, it might be on your grain cart, sometimes just on the combine as we get to harvest. We like to see those flags flying, flapping in the breeze, and maybe over the winter months they got a little worn and tattered. Maybe you need a new flag. So be on your toes later on here in April. You'll see me out flagging farmers, and I'll be doing that with our sponsors. Again, Landmark Companies and Geronimo Power. Just a couple of the things that are happening today. And also, if you have questions about any of them, why don't you give me a call? The JLA Insurance phone line, which is 701-293-9000. You will need it later in the show when we do Wednesday Weather Trivia, brought to us by Darter Plastics. They bring us the Bait Ups. They're a personal bait bucket that prevents you from having to stick your hand in the cold, sort of icky water to grab your minnows. Instead, you can have what, in some ways, it kind of looks like your insulated coffee cup, except it twists open on either end. You can put in fresh lake water, put your minnows inside, and then there's a little strainer so that you can pull the minnows out when you need one. And even better, keeps them well aerated every time you open up one of those caps. So stay tuned. Make sure you're ready to dial on the JLA Insurance phone line of 701-293-9000 when we do Wednesday Weather Trivia, brought to us by Darter Plastics. Now, some days you might be on your way down 19th Avenue. Maybe you're going to the airport, and you realize there's a lot of research for North Dakota State University happening along 19th Avenue. It's hard to miss the beef barn, the dairy barn, the sheep, and the swine units. And those have all been there, probably longer than most of the businesses around them, mind you. And also, straight south of the intersection to the airport are some of our legacy research plots that are done by NDSU, Agronomy, Crop and Weed Science Department, etc. Many of you may have heard me say in the past that the reason we have those plots is because we have universities that are indeed land grant universities. And part of our agreement with land grant status from the federal government in order to receive funding means we do continual agricultural research. Some of the plots at these land grant universities around the U.S. have quite a lengthy history. Even here in Fargo, we have hard red spring wheat plots that date back to the late 1800s. One of the oldest test plots in the United States is actually with the University of Illinois. They're called the Morrow plots, and they were started 150 years ago as a 5-acre research field near what was then the agricultural buildings on campus. Things have changed, and their one section remaining today is a continuously grown corn plot. Again, it's been going for 150 years. There is a rotation where they're doing continuous corn. There's another small patch of it that's corn to soybean rotation, and then a third is small grains, soybean, and corn. These plots cannot be developed into anything else. The rumor on the University of Illinois campus is that their library is a semi-modern sunken structure so that it was a lower profile so that shade did not fall over those corn plots at the time that it was built. Now, these plots are only second to those of the Roth-Olmsted research in England. There, they have winter wheat research that's been consistently studied on the same piece of ground since 1843. And so that's where some of our plans and ideas come from when we look at different soil types. What happens on continuous cropping systems? Things can happen where we do changes to the soil that mean all of a sudden, particularly in corn, we might have great big ears on our corn plant, but very few kernels. Well, how did that happen? And these are some of the areas in which we do that research. One of the detractions of being in the middle of a campus, such as University of Illinois' Morrow plots, well, there is a living hedge, a shrubbery that surrounds that entire plot. And squirrels moved in, and they think that those corn plots are a giant buffet. So some work has been done to potentially remove those bushes and shrubs in order to have fencing to keep the squirrels from eating all of the research. Things that happen in science that you were least expecting. Well, more to come on these types of headlines and so many more. We're going to talk about a few things today when it comes to technology, both in agronomy as well as in livestock. And we will continue to do that after the livestock report from the American Ag Network. Well, let's dive right back into the things that are happening right here on air today. First of all, so Dean, since you've been able to join us, did you want to do a better weather forecast than Addison and I have done? We've
Oh,
just been making it up as we
I'm
go
sure you
along.
guys did just fine.
It's
Addison?
70. That's what we're
See,
going for.
that's sunny and 70 today.
Today the temperature's out there. Forecast is visibility for a while.
Wow, that's spot on, man.
Sky's blue.
It is blue. Yes, it is. Yeah, we do have a lot of blue sky out there today after a few clouds this morning, and temperatures are in the 60s across the area. We'll make it up into the 70, 73 degree range across much of the area, and wind's not that bad out of the south. Then tonight, down into the 40s, so not as chilly. And then tomorrow, boy, what a difference in terms of temperatures tomorrow across the state. I'll give you a good example. So the far northern part of the state, areas up around Rolla, are going to be in the upper 20s. And we're getting some indications that we could I'm not quite going there yet, but we could be pushing 80 or close to it here in the FM area. So almost a 50-degree spread across the state. That signifying a cold front will be pushing in from Canada, and it's a strong one. Now, areas of the Northern Valley tomorrow will probably only be in the 40s and 50s, while we're in the 70s in the Central and Southern Valley. And as that cold front comes through tomorrow night, temperatures will drop, and we'll more than likely see, as we head towards Friday morning, some snow showers across the area. And with temperatures in the 30s on Friday and a pretty gusty north wind at 15 to 30. So it's going to feel like we're back we go from spring to one day later, middle of winter, it's going to feel like. And now, in terms of accumulating snow, not looking at much. The far northern valley could pick up a half inch to an inch. But here in the FM area, dusting to maybe a couple tenths, if that. I'm not looking for really much in the way of snow. But the colder weather will be here Friday, Saturday, in the 30s, and then warming up into the 40s on Sunday. And by this time next week, we're back in the 60s to right around 70 again. So keeping an eye on a potential. It's one of the signature LRC storms coming in here latter part of next week. It's going to be a big one. Now, our models keep flip-flopping back and forth in terms of, are we going to see the heavy rain out of it, or is it going to be to our south? And the models are now favoring, and I'm not quite buying into it just yet, areas of South Dakota getting the heavier parts of rain out of this system for late next week. So something we'll be keeping an eye on in regards to precip around here. But between now and then, we're really not expecting a whole lot. We're looking at pretty dry conditions and that roller coaster ride in temperatures. You know, we're 70s one day, 30s the next, then warming back up into the 60s and near 70, 3-4 days later. So, and
we're just easing into it.
Yeah, it is. And don't forget tomorrow on the Jay Thomas Show, we will have our Gary Lesak joining us from 2 to 4, and we'll be going over what our spring and summer looks like according to the LRC. And we'll be talking about this roller coaster ride. Is this going to be like this all summer, or are we going to finally kind of mellow things out as we head towards the end of the month? And if you have any...
Speaking of... Oh, go ahead, Dean.
I would say if you have any questions ahead of time about the LRC, our spring and summer outlook, you can email me at weather@flagfamily.com or Bridgette at ag@flagfamily.com.
Well, speaking of what the weather might look like, and unusually, Addison's got a photo he's going to pop into our live stream for us. I took this morning when I was at my desk getting ready to do our morning show spots in the 7 to 7:30 time frame. And yes, that's like a purple fog out there, pinkish purple, whatever you want to call it. It really was kind of wild just to see what that looked like earlier.
Looks like
today.
something you'd see in like a scary movie.
So yeah, right at sunrise, you're getting that reflection off of. That is wild looking. That is pretty cool.
Yep. So there you go. One more reason why folks should be watching the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. You're going to have to go over there and see what the morning purple fog looked like from my house. Now, I hope you have all your digits ready to dial because it's time for Wednesday weather trivia. And we're going to have you call us at the JLA Insurance phone line of 701-293-9000. So here's the question for today. I went and got this one together for us. He is widely considered the father of meteorology because he began writing around 340 BC. It was the first comprehensive study of the atmosphere. Who might that be? And it's not Gary Lee.
I was just going to
stop
say
right now.
that.
It's not Gary.
It's not Gary. Okay.
It's not Gary. No, no. And this is our Wednesday weather trivia brought to us by Darter Plastics. Again, you have the opportunity to win one of the personal bait ups from Darter Plastics that I described earlier. So, yes. Dean, I'm not sure if this is something you learn in meteorological school or if it just is regular knowledge for you.
No, yep, that's one of the things we touched on when we first started. So we got a caller on line one. Caller, what's your name? What's your guess?
Is it Luke Howard?
That is, you know what? And that's not the answer we're looking for, but that he's also, and Bridgette, I don't know how you want to do this, but that is one of the answers because he classified the clouds. So in terms of clouds classification, it was Luke Howard. Bridgette, I'll leave this up to you.
He was the modern version of the meteorologist. The one I'm looking for was more ancient times. Again, he was writing it around 340 BC, but Luke Howard was credited with clouds. Then Wilhelm Birkness, air masses, and Lewis Richardson was credited with forecasting. But I'm looking for even earlier than that.
Any second guess? We'll give him a second guess, real quick. We'll second guess.
Sure.
I just Joseph Henry.
No, that's not what we're looking for, man.
No.
All right, we got Kevin on line 2. Kevin, what's your guess?
Aristotle, of course, Dean.
All right, it is Aristotle. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Yeah, it was. I mean, our first caller, he wasn't technically wrong. That's more modern. That's more modern. Yeah, but Bridgette was looking for going all the way back, the original.
Hey, guess what you guys did?
Okay, and Addison said he's got all your information, Kevin, so you're good to go. Just swing by our station, pick up one of those Darter Plastic bait ups.
Hey, for the grandkids. It's always for the grandkids.
Hey, that's awesome. Good. That's good. Good deal.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin. All right. Yeah, Aristotle.
Yes. Here is my alternative question. So if everybody pays attention, maybe down the line one day we use this one. And I hope it's right. I got it out of the book of useless information. And it says, all snow crystals are hexagonal.
Yes.
Well, we'll use that in the future. All right. Saving that book. Just never know when we might need that to come up. In fact, Addison actually has a box of trivia questions out on his desk. So never know. Someday he may try to play trivia against you and I, Dean. So we'll have to see which one of us can win better.
It's been a while since we've had to break out the trivia cards.
You could try and stump us.
It has. But the problem is, we're older. It's harder to stump us.
Older usually means wiser. They're young whippersnapper.
How many actual funnels did the Titanic have on it? How many functional funnels?
Those you're talking about the smokestacks?
The smokestacks?
Yeah. How many of them actually
functioned? 2.
No.
No?
3. 3 out of 4, right?
3.
3 out of 4 of them were real.
What was the other one for? Decoration?
Just for show.
Really?
More funnels made the ship look bigger. Ship looked bigger. People thought it looked safer. Clearly untrue.
Clearly not.
As the class proved. I mean, only 1 out of 3 survived. Yeah. But,
Whoops.
I heard great things about the Olympic back in its day.
Gotcha.
The Titanic and its sister ship, the Britannic, not so much.
Okay. We've diverted slightly, but we'll fix that when we come back after bottom of the hour news. Oh, I've got a few little headlines here to take on, some small things that we want to make sure that you're aware of that are affecting us, well, pretty much around the world. Ooh, and don't forget, this could be your day to go do the fence check assessment at Tech Support Farm. Check them out at techsupport.farm. Do the fence check assessment. Make sure that what you have for cybersecurity is actually up to snuff, because these guys are getting bigger, badder, and more active as far as what's going on in cybersecurity these days. And you don't want to be someone who gets caught unawares. All right, so the trade war that's been going on doesn't affect all of our states evenly. There's new research out from Ohio State that finds the risks from escalating tariffs with Canada and Mexico, our closest ag trading partners, fall along geographic lines, and it's exposing some states to very steep losses while others don't even notice. At the center of the analysis is a very simple but often overlooked fact. The American food system is deeply regional. And I think we're talking about more than just lefse and nifla soup, you guys. We are using detailed freight data from railroads that show tracks where goods are produced, shipped, and consumed. And the researchers are mapping how ag trade flows across state borders as well as international lines. So what makes the current moment especially precarious is the tight integration of North American agriculture under that US-Mexico-Canada agreement. So supply chains that once crossed borders seamlessly, such as livestock, feed, fresh produce, now face a whole lot of friction. Some of that is not only because of tariffs, which might be more so the case with Canada, but with Mexico, and especially if you think about the beef supply, we have not opened our border back up to Mexico to bring beef across due to concerns with the New World screwworm. So until we see advancements being made there, we're probably going to continue to see some of this very fractionalized and concerning trade, depending on what state you're in. There was recently an FDA-approved antibiotic spray. I don't remember the name of it. I know Addison and I just talked about it yesterday when we did a recording that talked about being able to, if you give a vaccination or you do ear tagging, you can spray that antibiotic and it would prevent the infection of the New World screwworm and also keep the tissue in good health so that the screwworm would be less of a concern for those, especially like calves, etc. So more news to come. I believe National Cattlemen's Beef Association is also hosting a webinar tonight at 5 o'clock on New World screwworm and updates what's happening at the borders, what's also been happening with these FDA approvals, and so much more. So things to come regarding the beef supply right now. Okay, let's switch to Ukraine. Often, Ukraine is called the breadbasket of Europe. Their soils and conditions are very similar to what we have here on the northern plains. And when you talk to farmers over there, they have very deep, rich black soils like we do, and they export all across Europe. But this year, one of their farmers in particular is quoted as saying he's sowing fewer than 100 hectares of corn this spring. Well, first of all, he's realized at about 70 years old he wants to save a little more money because fertilizer prices have been soaring following the war in Iran. His biggest worry is about buying the diesel that he's going to need to harvest the 1,200 hectares he has later this year. The cost of fuel, so he's only planting 100 because he doesn't think he can afford the diesel to go across all 1,200 acres of his crop. The cost of diesel has nearly doubled since the U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, and it has really upset the supply of energy supplies in that region as well. So even though there's been a 4-year war with Russia, Ukraine is still a major producer of grain, oilseeds, and vegetable oils. And the risk for Ukraine is that the Middle Eastern conflict will increase Russia's economic advantage. As a major oil and gas supplier, Russia stands to gain from high energy prices, and the farmers have cheap domestic supplies of fertilizer and diesel, which Ukraine would have to import. That will have a global effect because the more you see being spent in energy costs, etc., for product that is produced in the Ukraine and in that region means that countries that relied on them for importation will now have to buy from other places. Maybe that's helpful to us and it increases our overall grains complex because we get better prices, but we are a higher quality and a higher cost producer, and so that will put the pinch on dollars for more of these customers who need to be doing some buying. Something to think about. I had opportunity to have a phone call yesterday with a national journalist writing an article in regards to the U.S. farm economy, and her concern really asked about, is it doom and gloom all across the United States? I'd like to think we're in a much better place up here in the Northern Plains than some other areas of the country, such as Arkansas. Rice and cotton farmers down there are really struggling. But that rice harvest in the United States may benefit from the fact that the Iranian war is really threatening Asia's rice harvest. They've got ready to harvest rice fields, but they're lying idle right now. And farmers are trying to decide whether to skip planting for the coming season because of the fuel and fertilizer costs that are spiking once again. So if you look at Southeast Asia, tens of millions of small farmers are struggling to find affordable crop nutrients, as well as diesel to run their tractors, their irrigation pumps, their rice planting systems. In Thailand, some farmers are leaving the crop in the ground because they can't afford to harvest it. With the disruptions set to last, farmers are getting creative with their dependence on imported fertilizers and fuel. Some are switching from rice to corn. Also, there's a company in Cambodia that's accelerating plans to scale up bio-organic fertilizer production, and they're seeking suppliers for electric tractors and solar-powered water pumps. I would also say, in visiting with farmers here in North Dakota, we are seeing significantly less wheat that's going to be planted because the margin on it is in a negative factor versus if some of the other crops are planted. And also more farmers are talking about how to remove themselves from the dependence of an imported synthetic fertilizer. Can we see more biological fertilizers being used? There is a farmer in Minnesota who is talking about being able to create his own liquid fertilizer. There has been discussions about small fertilizer built modules that could in fact create literally like recreating the Haber-Bosch system where you're pulling nitrogen from the air to create your own material to use on farm or for your local independent business. And really, if you are close to someone with a livestock operation and there is any way possible for you to get enough fertilizer to spread your fields, you are definitely going to be looking at whether it's off of a beef feedlot, poultry and swine operations to be able to use more of their manure as your natural fertilizer. I think some of the things that will come to pass is that farmers are going to get more diligent about reading their soil samples and realizing what do I have, what do I need, and so they can balance that out instead of just putting on standardized rates. There'll be more variable rating across fields as well, figuring out where's the best spot for this particular product to go. How much do I need? Maybe I have enough carryover. I don't have to use this item. What are my alternatives? So when you think about cost-cutting measures, those efficiencies, it's like balancing a home budget. You got to look for all the right things to do and how you can do it. You're getting tighter on your grocery list, you're buying less expensive things, or you're stretching out your time. I think that's what farmers are doing with a lot of their input costs as well. As we move into our last segment of the hour, we want to make sure to go through the weather. Don't forget about tomorrow's weather special. Dean will have the details for you. And I still have a few more headlines that we might want to cover before the end of the day. So we'll be right back.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this hump day, tax day. Today's tax day, right? Last day to file taxes.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Addison's like, I don't file taxes. What are you guys talking about? I don't know.
Don't throw me under the bus like that. I'm not confirming anything.
Uh-huh. That's okay.
I'm not doing it.
We're the government. We're here to help. Oh, man. Well, temperatures out there are mild. This is a great day to get up. Maybe hit the trails outside today. It's a gorgeous one. We're at 66 degrees right now. Let's see. Other temperatures around the area, 63 in DL. A little cooler to the north, 59 in Grand Forks. And out west, 70 in Jamestown, and 70s all the way into the south central part of the state, where Fort Yates looks like the warm spot right on the South Dakota border there at 73. So a nice mild afternoon. Get out and enjoy it. We should reach right around 70 or so here in the FM area. And then tonight down into the 40s, and tomorrow a wide range in temperatures from the 40s in the Northern Valley to near 80 in the far southern valley and into Lakes Country. So it's a wide spread in temperatures tomorrow due to a cold front that will be moving southward. Should pass through the FM area right after peak heating. So right towards late afternoon, early evening. You'll know when because winds will shift to the north, and then we'll see temperatures falling as we head after sunset. And then tomorrow is going to be Friday is going to be a chilly one. 30s with a north wind at 15 to 30 and scattered snow showers in the morning. In terms of accumulating snow, I'm not seeing a lot with this. Dusting, maybe a couple tenths of an inch, and most of that's going to be in the Northern Valley. So, but again, something we'll keep an eye on. It's a pretty quick-moving system. That's why we're not expecting a lot of moisture with it. And then we'll stay dry through the weekend, just chilly, and then we'll warm things up into the 60s to near 70 as we head into next week. So that roller coaster ride continues. And again, we're still keeping an eye on a potentially bigger storm, mostly this looks like a rainmaker that comes in here towards the end of next week. Right now, our models have that just to our south. They've been flip-flopping back and forth. Yesterday, they had most of our area getting heavy rain. Now they've shifted that a little further to the south. It is on the LRC calendar as one of the signature storms of the year, one of the bigger ones. So it's something we'll definitely keep a very close eye on.
Well, that would be a great idea to find out what it's going to do as the week rolls on. Maybe we'll get a little closer, like you said, forecast of where it's going to land, how much we're going to get. But I'd be okay if we didn't get very much rainfall. Okay, it's going to be overcast. I don't need a lot more moisture out there. And then we'll drive on into good things after that. There is a family out in Riva, South Dakota that has a new plan to help out on your ranch. And I sent the picture of it to Addison so he can put that in the live stream for today as well. It's called the Stock Step, and the Fabris family of Riva, they've got cattle. And their whole idea came because when you have stock tanks out in the pastures, okay, so when you have ponds or stock dams, those are in the ground. Cattle can walk up to the edge and they can put their heads down to get to them. But as this picture demonstrates, sometimes you have tires that are turned out and you're using those as water tanks. You may have the big old galvanized water tanks. And as cattle get up close to them, sometimes they overflow, water spills, and there gets to be a bunch of erosion as well as mud around those tanks. So the tank stays at the same height, but the ground next to it starts to lower itself. And if you're a short calf, it gets a lot harder to get to the tank. So the idea behind this actually happened because they were out checking cattle, and the cattle had gone up to the water trough. They have drank most of the water down, so it was only about halfway full, trying to refill itself, and a little calf came up. And he wasn't tall enough to stand at ground level and then put his head over the side of the tank and get down to the level where the water was. So he got frustrated and left, thirsty. Well, they figured there had to be a better way. So the wheels started turning, and they went ahead and started working on building a concrete form that then would have a curvature on it so it could be placed directly up to the tank so that it stays flush, and that way the cattle who need to can get up on that concrete pad and can get closer to the tank and drop their heads in to drink. Now, they've got a couple of different models for them. Erosion can still happen around this stock step pad, but it does protect the tank, and the animals can still get to water. So they've been putting them on their own tanks. They have recently started attending trade shows and so forth. It's a great idea if you've ever had this problem, and I know I've witnessed it multiple times. Those little calves got thirsty. We got to make sure there's a way for them to get there, and you can do it with the stock step, this concrete pad.
That is cool. How long has that been around, Bridgette?
They started building the forms in 2020,
Okay.
and just in the last probably 2 years is when they've really started to sell them commercially and get them out to other ranchers.
How have they been selling? Do you know? It's a great idea.
I think they've had really good response. Their most recent trade show was the Black Hill Stock Show in February, and they had a lot of people that wanted to stop, talk, look at measurements. They said their first go around at the prototype didn't really work out that well because they weren't reinforced enough. And as they started breaking them out of their forms, they were crumbling. They didn't use a quality enough concrete to get them done, etc. So now they've got a bit more of a system perfected so that you can, in fact, use your stock pads or stock steps to get your calves as well as any other cattle up to that water tank more easily. It happens all the time, right? A tank overflows, it gets muddy, things erode, it just gets to be a lot of mess. This is actually a pretty good step, literally, for them to be doing around stock tanks.
It's a great idea. It really is.
So as we get closer to planting, we talk about all the great features that are on some of our planters that are going out there to put corn in the ground, sugar beets, etc. And one of the terms that we use most often is called downforce. Now, when you're placing your seed at a uniform depth, it really requires sufficient downforce on your row units. So your row units are every unit that's dropping seed directly into the ground. And you want firm soil you want to be able to use those depth wheels for it because you want the seed trench walls to stand up. That's the little trench that's being made, your furrow where you're dropping the seed placement. But you want that downforce to keep the units in contact with the ground at least 97% of the time. Without downforce, your planter can bounce along the top of the ground. And when it does that, you have seed that's at variable planted depths. When that's the case, you have uneven uniformity for germination and to get that crop going, especially when I think about corn and things like that. So we want to use downforce in order to get our crop planted uniformly and up and out of the ground as quickly as possible. So that uneven planting, well, that leaves, as we said, uneven emergence. But even in dry soils, that can slough the top of the trench off into the seed, and it actually makes things a little too deep. Then if it's muddy out and you have the improper downforce, it smears the sidewalls of that trench or that furrow where you're putting your seed in. Sometimes you have fields that were dug previously. They're a little bit too mellow and you can plant too deeply. So that hydraulic down pressure control really can change by row, milliseconds as you're going across the field. And so now we are seeing better downforce pressure and hydraulics on these machines to make sure that we set it and that it stays stable no matter what our field conditions might be. So there, another term to understand when we're talking about all the bells and whistles of getting a great crop planted and ready to go for the season. Don't forget to join us tomorrow. Greg Hansen is going to join us, or excuse me, that'll be Friday. First of all, tomorrow's the weather special. Holy cow, I was jumping a day ahead, Dean.
That's right. We'll have our spring and summer outlook using the LRC, and Gary Lezak will be joining us on Jay's show right after Weather and Ag in Focus tomorrow. So for Bridgette and myself, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.